Good morning, everybody. We are going to get started. I want to thank you once again for taking time out of your busy morning to join us for another installment of the Explore This series. Today, my guest is Brent Gibbs. He's a professor at acting and directing from the School of Theater, Film, and Television. Brent, how are you doing this morning?
Doing well. How about you, Chad?
I'm doing great. And again, reminder for those who may have not hopped on this series before Explore This is a series where I'll sit down with many different University of Arizona subject matter experts to talk about a lot of different things pertaining to your health and well-being, the many dimensions that are on that. Today, we're going to have kind of a little bit of fun here and talking about meditation with a little assist from William Shakespeare, as we'll talk about in a little bit. So to meditate or not to meditate, that is the question. I'm going to stop this share here. And Brent, we talked a little bit as we were prepping for this, so many things that we could talk about in these 15 minutes, but I think we got it down and hopefully we can help people understand the importance of this. And so I just want to kind of jump into it. That first question is, why should someone incorporate meditation into their day-to-day practices?
I think there's a variety of reasons. We can go into the medical ones. It reduces stress. It controls anxiety. It helps you sleep better. I suppose from my point of view, the thing that I'm always drawn to by it is it's just a way of being a little bit nicer to yourself, of being a little kinder to yourself, giving yourself a little space to be able to kind of check in on your own well-being. And, a lot of people think of meditation as trying to change something. I think it is much more of accepting something. In other words, it gives you a chance to kind of observe your own inner workings and see how you're doing. And again, then that gives you a choice. Then you can make a choice in terms of how you want to respond.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I think it reminds me a lot, one of our colleagues out of Life Work Connections, Bob Cunningham, he did a series called Mindful Mondays, and a lot of what you said and a lot of what he said, it's that stopping and kind of checking yourself a little bit and saying, okay, where am I at? Because there's so many external factors going on and so many things going around that stopping is so important. So I'm glad you hit on that for sure. So what are some ways then, how can someone really then incorporate meditation into their day-to-day?
Well, I think one of the first things that I would tell people is to maybe lighten up a little bit and not put a lot of pressure on yourself in terms of your meditative practice. It's okay just to do a few minutes. It's okay to start slow. It's okay to miss a day. It's okay. You know what I mean? You have to be gentle with yourself in terms of that. It's funny, we talk about in terms of meditation, when you find your mind wandering when you're doing meditation, if you think of taking your mind for a walk like a dog, you don't yank on the leash to get the dog to get back on the path. You're very gentle with it. You talk to it. You allow it to kind of come back on its own. And I think that's the same way in terms of both your practice, setting up your practice and executing your practice, is to be gentle with yourself. There's a lot of easy meditations that you can do. Most of the ones that I teach tend to center on the breath, because the breath is always with us. So we can use it as a way of centering our minds and giving ourselves a place to kind of let our attention reside. So those are some things I would say. And don't worry about your posture. Don't worry about your sitting position. I mean, you can put a whole bunch of pressure on yourself, and that really kind of runs counter to what the whole purpose of the meditation, which is to relieve the pressure from inside.
Yeah, I really love that you touched on that, like being okay with yourself, that you may not be perfect with it. I had a professor back in my undergrad who taught me the importance of meditation and said a lot of those same things, like you don't need to sit cross-legged with your fingers in this position. It's about stopping and listening, and it is a good practice. And sometimes it is hard to stop that inner critic coming in of like, you're not doing it right, you're not sitting right, but as you practice and as you take that time, you can definitely reap those benefits. So, I think what we like to do on this kind of series is we like to have the discussion, but I know that you and I had talked about as we prep for this, what are some practices? Would you be able to lead those who are watching in a couple practices today?
Sure. There's a couple of easy ones that you can begin with. One is a counting meditation. And again, the whole idea is to just simply choose where you are putting your own attention. And you will have other thoughts that arise, and it's fine. Simply acknowledge them and go back, if you decide to, go back to where you have chosen to put your attention. So the first one we'll do is simply a counting meditation. It's a 5, 5, 5, 5. So we will breathe in for 5. We will hold that breath for 5. We will exhale for 5, and then we'll sit empty for 5. And we'll just do that for a couple of seconds. I always set a timer so that I know how long we're doing things. And we'll just do this for about 15, 20 seconds. Here we go. And we're breathing in for 5. Hold for 5. Exhale for 5. And empty for 5. In. Hold. Exhale. Empty. Do that one more time. In. Hold. Exhale. Empty. And so you can already start to feel, hopefully, you can feel your shoulders drop a little bit. You can feel toes unclench. You can, I mean, we hold tension in it's funny. Somebody once talked about tension as kind of one of those water wiggles, those little balloons that have water in them, and you try to hold on to them and they squirt out of your hands. And the harder you try to kind of grab onto it, the more it's going to go somewhere else. And so again, meditation allows you simply a chance to kind of do an inventory of, see where you're at. There's an idea, and I think it's true, that if you can name something, it gives you some power and control over it. If you know, oh, look, I'm very agitated today, or look, I'm really scattered, or I'm overwhelmed. Simply acknowledging that is power. And then you can choose to take steps. And meditation gives you that little space to be able to take a look and see how you're doing on your inner workings. We can do another one, which is by Thich Nhat Hanh. This is actually the one that I teach the most and the one that I find the most helpful. These are breathing sutras, and a sutra is just simply a phrase or a sound that you can use to help, again, choose to where to place your attention. And so these are by Thich Nhat Hanh. The first one that we're going to do is breathing in. I know that I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know that I am breathing out. You can shorten that to in and out, and you just simply use the whole breath for the phrase. So breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. In, out. Breathing in, my breath goes deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slow. Deep, slow. Breathing in, I am aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I am calming my whole body. Aware, calm. So it gives you just an idea of some of the sutras that you can do. Some people may find it helpful to do guided meditations. There are an infinite number of apps now in terms of those. Some of the ones that I looked up are Calm, Simple Habit, Insight Timer, 10% Happier. And the reason I chose those is those are all free. So you can simply, you can pick and choose. You can try one for a little while. Great thing is, I mean, I consider myself to be an advanced beginner. I've been doing meditation for going on 20 some odd years. And, you know, it really is, it allows you to get that beginner's mind and look at things afresh. So I'm a fan of meditation.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for leading us in that practice, because, you know, I always think about the breath and how we always take it for granted until we realize, oh, we need it so much, and we go running or we get in that fight or flight mode. We get those quick, shallow breaths, but when we stop and we slow down, we can really kind of slow everything down. So definitely.
And I find that, you know, I will catch myself and I'm only breathing, you know, up to clavicular breathing. It's just this short little breath. And it's the most amazing thing to go, okay, just breathe. And to let that breath fall in, and you can really feel that sense of a shift in perception. And it just gives you a little bit more control, a little bit more calm.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of as we had the title of this topic, and as we had talked a little bit more in another part of your wheelhouse in the acting and film, I guess we're going to ask you then, so how can William Shakespeare give us assist on this?
Well, I've had the great pleasure of spending most of my professional career working on William Shakespeare's pieces. And the one thing that I've found is that as a humanist, he examines the human condition and he looks at how we operate, of course, from a 1600s point of view. So there are flaws in it, but many of them are truisms that still remain. For instance, in Hamlet, he has Hamlet say, "For there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so," which we have found to be true, that our thoughts do indeed influence our own physical well-being. They influence the way that we experience the world. So our point of view is really important. Another one is, "'Tis ourselves that we are thus or thus, our bodies are our gardens to which our wills are gardeners." And again, it's just these ideas of that we have self-control, that we have a choice, that we have the ability to influence our own minds and our own well-being. So I find Shakespeare, I can find comfort, I can find recognition in many of the things that Shakespeare writes, even ideas as kind of advanced as meditation, which of course meditation is not an advanced concept. Meditation has been around for millennium.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and it's just so cool how you're able to tie that in, and I hope that people can really start to think about that and how there's so many truisms from way back and how we can really integrate them in today. And so Brent, as we're kind of tying up here in the last couple of minutes that we have, I try to ask all of my guests on here, you know, kind of keep the series going, is getting some more tips. What is something that you're currently doing right now to focus on or better your health?
I think one of the things that I'm trying to focus on is to realize when I get stressed, which again, you know, mindfulness allows you to participate a little bit more fully in your life. So just simply noticing that, okay, I am now overwhelmed. I'm officially over the top. That again, just simply acknowledging that is helpful. I'm learning how to cook, which is great. I never have time to do that. In the theater, we work long hours and we work late at night, and so there's not a lot of time. So I find that very meditative. If you don't pay attention while you're chopping up vegetables, you'll be in serious trouble. So you know, it forces you to be present in that moment, and trying to get physical exercise. You know, and again, being one of the great things about meditation is it allows you to be a little more gentle with yourself. So if you miss a day, it's fine. Just simply pick it back up again tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, a lot of great tips, Brent. I want to thank you again for hopping on and telling us all about these wonderful things. I want to thank everybody who took time out of their busy morning to join us and learn about the wonderful practice of meditation. And you know, this recording will be up in a couple weeks. So you can come back and do those practices again and hop onto our resources that are in the chat to go and see some other things that we've talked about. But Brent, thank you again for joining me today.
It's a pleasure.
And thank all of you who've been on today, and I hope you have a happy and well Wednesday. Be well, everybody.